Hey, it's Dave, the dating specialist here. So have you ever been to Hawaii? The Hawaiian Islands are one of my favorite places on the planet. I have only been there twice, but I hope to have more chances to go in the future. I've had friends and family members who have lived in Hawaii, and I am super jealous about that. But I digress. During a vacation to the Hawaiian island of Oahu, I had my very first surfing lesson on Waikiki Beach. The advertisement for these lessons guaranteed I would be a successful surfer by the end of my first lesson. Based on my general lack of athletic ability and basic coordination skills, I was pretty sure they were wrong. Despite my doubts, I was totally in for surfing in Hawaii. My instructor taught me how to paddle while in a laying position on the surfboard, and then shifting to my knees to a crouch and finally a standing position. This all had to happen at the same time as catching a wave just right to propel me forward. While this was difficult enough, the biggest challenge for me came after I caught a wave and got up on the surfboard. I had to stay up and ride the wave. While trying to learn to stay balanced on the surfboard and riding the wave all the way back to the beach, my instructor taught me a profound lesson that I've never forgotten. He said something to the effect of, "Stop looking down at the water. Look in the direction you want to go. Where you look is where you will end up." Until my instructor said this, I didn't even realize I was spending almost all of my time looking down instead of up. I was focused on my fear of falling in the water rather than focusing on my goal of reaching the beach. Once I shifted my focus to the beach, I found I was much more likely to stay balanced on the surfboard and get to where I wanted to go. They fulfilled their guarantee. I was a successful surfer. Not great, but successful. So how does this apply to dating and relationships? The most destructive force in our relationships is fear. Your intention may be to keep your relationship afloat, but you don't realize that your focus is on the fear of failure rather than on the goal of a secure attachment with a loving partner. The destructive force of fear tends to manifest in our relationships in one of two ways. Either you are afraid that the other person won't love you, or you are afraid that you don't love the other person. Let's take a quick look at each of these. Fear number one, the other person won't love me. When your fears are centered around whether you can get someone to love you in the way you desire, this is known as having an anxious attachment style. When you are anxiously attached, you'll have very strong feelings for the other person. You may even think that they are the only one for you, and you would never find anyone else that would live up to them. You'll interpret these strong feelings as love, but they are actually a sign of an unhealthy attachment. These powerful emotions may also lead you to be overly dismissive of their flaws, thus making you more vulnerable to toxic relationships. You may spend a lot of time analyzing everything your partner says or does, trying to figure out what he or she really meant or how they feel about you. You'll likely involve many friends and family members in this analysis behavior. You'll tend to feel and act insecure in the relationship. You may make yourself too available for the other person, cutting other important people and activities out of your life. You may take on too much responsibility, trying to move the relationship forward even when the other person is not reciprocating. You may push the other person towards commitment when they are not ready for it. Your feelings of insecurity and desire for commitment may lead you to complain, nag, or initiate a lot of serious conversations about where the relationship is going. Does any of this sound familiar? If so, you may have fallen into an anxious attachment pattern. Fear number two, I don't love the other person. When your fears are centered around whether you want the other person or really love them, this is known as having an avoidant attachment style. When you have an avoidant attachment style, you may have perfectionistic tendencies and an overly romanticized ideal in your mind of what a relationship should be and how you should feel. These shoulds will put pressure on you and the relationship and often lead to you going through the motions but not feeling the emotions. That's just one of the reasons why we need to stop shoulding on ourselves. This lack of feeling an emotional connection will further reinforce your fear that you are not feeling the way you should. And thus, you must not be with the right person. Another possible byproduct of the lack of emotional connection is that you'll feel frozen, stuck, or trapped in the relationship. You may feel that you want to withdraw or run, especially when dealing with difficulties in the relationship. You may be overly focused on your partner's flaws. You may find yourself constantly comparing your partner to past relationships that you have now idealized, even though they didn't work out for one reason or another, or to other potential partners that you imagine would be more attractive, have a better personality, be a better match, etc. This habit of comparison will reinforce your fears that you're not compatible with or in love with your partner. Does any of this sound familiar? If so, you may have fallen into an avoidant attachment pattern. As you can see, avoidant and anxious attachment patterns are destructive to dating relationships. They are based on fear. They also tend to feed on one another. Someone with an anxious attachment style will tend to push their partner to be more avoidant. Someone with the avoidant attachment style will often cause their partner to feel more anxious about the relationship. These patterns are not only damaging to dating relationships, they often continue to wreak havoc in marriage relationships. In fact, when I was getting trained as a dating and relationship strategist, my mentor told me that 80% of my clients would be dealing with anxious and avoidant attachment patterns. And I have found that to be the case. I've also talked to a marriage counselor, and he said the same thing. Attachment issues are the core of 90% of the people he sees who come in for marriage counseling. So what can you do to fix it? That is a question that can't be fully answered within this video, but I can point you in the right direction. Remember the lesson I learned while surfing? Stop looking down at your fears. Look in the direction you want to go. Where you look is where you will end up. Where you want to end up is with a secure attachment with a loving partner. So let's talk about what a secure attachment looks like. Imagine that the 3 attachment styles we have discussed are on a spectrum. Anxious and avoidant attachment are on the extreme ends of the spectrum. Secure attachment lies in the middle. When you're securely attached, you have a desire to be with your partner and you make time for them, but you also have a balanced life, which includes work, friends, family, and other interests. If the person you're dating doesn't call and text every day or does not immediately respond to your calls and texts, you'll still feel confident in them, in the relationship, and in yourself. Although you may not respond to their calls and texts immediately, you'll respond within a reasonable time frame because they are a priority to you. You'll believe in the general goodness of the opposite sex and trust that the person you're dating has good intentions. When your partner does something that hurts your feelings, you'll give them the benefit of the doubt and assume it was unintentional. You'll be able to effectively communicate your feelings and needs to your partner without blame or criticism. You'll also be responsive to their feelings and needs and try to meet them. If you're rejected by someone in a dating relationship, you will feel grief and loss. But you'll maintain confidence that you'll be okay and that there are others who would value you and be a great match. These are just some of the qualities a person has when they have a secure attachment style. If you find yourself on either the anxious or avoidant side of the spectrum, recognize that these behaviors are based on fear. Work on shifting your focus away from your fears to developing a secure attachment. I hope you found this helpful. May your love story have a happy ending. Learning how to become more securely attached can be easier said than done, and many people find it difficult to do without support. If this is the case for you, set up some time with me and let's have a chat. I do video conference sessions with people all over the world. Click the link down below in the comments to schedule some time with me. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and ring that notification bell.